Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the wellness portion of Nantucket Pulse programming made possible by the Nantucket Cottage Hospital Community Health Initiative. I'm Natalie Ciminero. I'm your host, and it's been my pleasure working with a wonderful team dedicated to highlighting essential resources that can help us balance our new way of living, taking care of ourselves, taking care of each other, and connecting us to those who can help us during this time of what seems like ever-changing tides. The waves can sometimes be hard to navigate. So today, I'm going to be talking with a return guest, Tess Alberdi, the Executive Director of Fairwinds, Nantucket'S Counseling Center. We're going to discuss some concerns with mental health and substance use during the pandemic here on the island. We also hope to gain some further understanding of how Fairwinds has been adapting and able to serve our community. It's great to see you live.
It's great to see you. I wish I was in person.
I wish that we could be in person too, but I mean, with the power of technology, this is kind of what we're doing. Or we'd be talking, through an open door 6 feet apart with masks on. So this probably is a good way to start.
It is. It's our new normal, right?
That's right. That's right. Well, I thank you so much for your flexibility and for taking the time to do this with us today. I've been excited all week to be talking with you. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I've been thinking a little bit, Tess, and, we're in a slow phase of reopening in the world. Some states have opened. We're in phase 1 of reopening here on Nantucket in terms of the way business is happening. And I thought it might be helpful to maybe address some concerns that we have. And if it's okay with you, if you're comfortable with it, I'd love to kind of start off with some questions. And of course, take it from there. If there's something that you have to add or whatever you want to say that could be helpful, that would be great. Is that cool with you?
Sounds great.
Great.
Sounds great.
All right. So I think first, with all the changes that are going on right now, and people are trying their best to adapt, I'd be interested to know if you could name maybe a primary concern or some concerns in terms of mental health and substance abuse and substance use here on the island during this pandemic and the shelter in place and as things transition.
I'd be happy to. So I'll start off with my personal and clinical opinion that mental health and behavioral health is health. It is one of our primary components where you can't separate yourself from it. So who we are, what we do, our day-to-day life is the underpinning of what we think, how we feel, how we take care of ourselves. So mental health is all of how we're navigating COVID. And I was just sharing with Andrew, I think the water metaphors keep coming up for us. We're all in the same storm, but we're in different boats. And I think some people through this entire situation on Nantucket, some have been working more than they've ever worked before. And this virtual landscape of trying to meet the need, those first responders, those not-for-profits in the health and human sector service are doubling down, and it's been intense. There's also the other pendulum swing of those who have sadly been without work. And every week and every month that slides by, it feels like Groundhog Day. And the isolation and the financial impacts have been heavy on most. So I don't think there's been one uniform thing outside of many people have felt anxious in ways they never have before, and how they cope with it has been varied. We know many people end up using substances for fun to change their mood, to feel better. There have also been people that have been working with their sobriety and really questioning how they use a substance, and it's caused additional confounding issues where they're overusing, they're over drinking. So we have concerns with mental health that everybody's been white knuckling it, just doing the best they can. We're a resilient community, we're a tough community. But as the weeks slide by, it's exhausting. And I think we should just kind of all acknowledge that this is a lot going on, and reaching out for mental health is what I most want to push, is that sooner rather than later, and that all of us benefit from that oil change of a vintage car, getting in there, getting some work done, getting back on the road.
Agreed. I mean, it's been ups and downs. You know, I know people who have been working more than ever, as you said. I know some people who are at home just kind of, you know, watching the days go by and saying, what am I going to do today? Or if I'm talking to someone and they say, what did you do today? And, you know, it's the same thing I did yesterday.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. And I love that. I sort of love that nod to, we're all in in a different boat, but we're all kind of in the same storm. And so, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. You know, to follow up on that, you know, I think it's so important, and I think a lot of people do know this, but I think it's so important that people in need know that they can still find help right here on island. So having said that, how would you say, or what is your feeling on how Fairwinds has adapted and in ways that you've continued to serve your clients, and what you guys have seen in that way that you've been changing and serving and helping people?
Yeah. So we were really fortunate, and I'm so proud of my teammates at Fairwinds. I'm biased, so I should say that up front, but I love the people I love the people I work with. And we had prepared for telehealth last fall, that virtual component of what you and I are doing, Natalie, here. And we're able to very quickly turn our entire clinic practice and under 6 hours to a model. And we tried very hard to get the word out there that there would be no interruption in care. We would continue to see clients from the safety of their home, their car, on a walk, whatever it looks like, via their smartphone or computer device. So we are, for the first time in many months and more than a year, have no wait list. We're able to immediately case assign for psychiatry, peer recovery coaching, individual outpatient and family therapy. We're taking referrals for psych testing. We have community support providers. We have openings for almost every single line of our service. So we've been really grateful that technology has helped us stay connected to people. When the pandemic started and Massachusetts started to shut down that early mid-March, we did have a drop in clients connecting to care, not due to IT, but we wondered about just the shock and the concern of what it meant for people to be out of work and financially what that meant. And we did suspect, especially when they were there for substance misuse, had they been relapsing, had they been having challenges with their sobriety. Since that time, week after week, our increased requests for services gone up week over week. And we're hiring up, actually anticipating that it will continue to grow as the summer and the year goes on. So we're proud that we have GoToMeeting, a HIPAA compliant virtual link that we can send you. We can end up seeing people same day appointment. That's something we're rolling out next week, where virtually you could be sent a link and connect. And we also recognize that our little people, our wiggly young people that are in treatment, they want to do FaceTime, they want to do WhatsApp, they want to do it as easy as possible. And if that's what the client wants to do, then we're going to stay extremely flexible. Nights, weekends, when clients want to connect to care, we try to be really malleable about that.
I think that's wonderful, because there's so much out of control. I mean, just in everyday life. So aside from, okay, there's so much in life that you can't control. And there's uncertainty that comes with life. There's so much more uncertainty even now. And people worrying about how they're going to meet their needs. Can I go to this establishment? Can I go to this establishment? No one really knows, or that we're wanting to trust that certain things will be okay. So to know that the one thing that you can count on is that your healthcare provider, so, you know, Fairwinds or your doctor or whatever the health concern is, or the health need is in wellness, in mental health and physical health, to know that those professionals, that you are available, that you guys are making yourselves adaptable, that you are working with technology. And for young people, I mean, that's all the rage anyway. So that means, I mean, it must just mean an incredible amount to people who know that with everything else going on in the storm, with all of the other winds blowing, that they still can count on it's a safe environment to be able to talk with someone who can help me through this time. I would imagine that that holds a lot of value for people right now.
I think this, we look for silver linings all the time. It's our intentional positive psychology. We've found some people that in a prior year would have had 2 to 3 jobs. Right now it's the shoulder season, everything's opening up, and while they might have had things they personally wanted to work on, that I'll do that later, I'll do that when I have time. The blessing is that some of those individuals are saying, now is the time I can work on myself. I actually have the ability to have some insight and slow down. We also have found that there are many clients who were anxious about seeking treatment and worried about walking into a clinic and had never accessed behavioral health care before, and now doing it from home virtually feels safer. We find that clients are engaging quicker, and we're getting to some of the big crux of issues sooner. So we're looking for silver linings where we see people wanting to make positive changes. We anticipate more people wanting to reach out to make changes in their life. And if that's one thing that can come out of COVID, is that we're going to become more thoughtful, a little bit more introspective people, a little bit better self-care, then let's see that as a growth area.
I couldn't agree more. When I'm working, oftentimes with my clients virtually, and one thing that I keep coming back to is, I feel this. I feel this anyway, but especially now, right? I feel that with flexibility, with some patience, with continued creativity, with the support of technology, with all of those things that, maybe the silver lining, right? So maybe something that can come out of this is a renewed sense of compassion for each other, of connectedness, of community, of humanity, of self-care. And I mean, that's not to say, I'm not suggesting, and that's not to say that if you don't do it, there's something wrong with you. It just means that I know for me personally, if I don't try to find something positive in all of this, it can feel very overwhelming. It can feel this is a global thing that's happening. So
absolutely,
anything global can feel sometimes much too much to manage, so that if you bring it in and make it smaller, it might be a little easier to manage. I'm wondering what you think about that.
Yeah, I think that's how anxiety, it's the snowflake that starts at the top of the mountain and then builds up steam and ends up turning into this big avalanche, is that when we scale out and we think how big and how scary everything can be, it can be immobilizing. That anxiety can paralyze us. But if we can scale it down and say, what's in my control today? What am I grateful for? Where are the silver linings? We're surprised we could take it one day at a time and find different ways to be strong and get through it. So it's an interesting thing that we have this huge thing going on that unifies the world. It is great tragedy for those that have lost someone to COVID. It is a very tangible fear. It's a scary virus, but people are also overcoming it. People are also surviving this. There are many people that are going to, with treatment sometime in the near future, this will be a chapter of all of our lives where we said we went through it. So I think if we can start to change the story of how we talk about COVID and how we want to get things out of it, if this could be a transformative time, and this could be a way we could all scale back and say, let's look at how we do business, how we do work, how we really boil down the things that are important to us, our health, our family. Those could be some great takeaways.
Beautifully said. I mean, beautifully said. So, I think you're right. It's so easy to get overwhelmed, especially at this time of the year, on the season coming and people coming and everyone's scurrying and getting ready. That has enough anxiety producing anyway.
Yep.
So now people are coming, and we know they're coming. And I'm wondering, how much anxiety, there's no way to know, but I can imagine that, on one hand, yes, our island, we know that so much of our economy is based on tourism and seasonal homeowners and all that comes with that. So in one way, we want business. We want business to be able to support ourselves. And the other way, I would wonder what your take would be on maybe some anxiety and or fear that people may be experiencing because they know that people are coming. And how are we going to, we've done such a wonderful job as a year-round community here, keeping the cases low. Everyone's doing what they're supposed to do. So I can imagine that there are some concerns and some anxiety involved with people coming back to the island. And I wonder if you would have any advice to people on, not shutting themselves down and remembering that, we all are in this together.
I think that our summer residents are our residents. They are as much Nantucketers as any of us here. They love and support us. They are the lifeline to most businesses. If you thought about all of our beautiful restaurants and our real estate and our construction and our trade, it is symbiotic. It's not us versus them. It is us together that love Nantucket and call this our home, regardless of how much time there is. If we can remember that these very passionate people that love Nantucket are living in similar communities where they have had the same safety precautions, the same thought, the same education as all of us about what the CDC is reminding us about being safe, social distancing, wearing masks. These are not people coming from another planet who are not aware of what we all want to do to keep our own anxiety and our own physical safety about. So I think that there's just some humanity that we're all in this together. It is an anxiety producing time. What we're not hearing is from our clients is the concern about more people coming to the island. There's excitement. That means work. That means things possibly opening up. It means we're not alone. We're not 30 miles out to see just us. What I hear more often is people who are wondering when work's going to start back up, what the new normal is going to continue to look like. We talk to clients a lot about what this constant phased opening from Governor Baker looks like, because it's hard to just sit and wait every 3 weeks. That is what we hear more of anxiety about. It's not necessarily an influx of people that are going to socially distance and be as safe because they're mindful of their health. They know we have scarce resources on this community. They largely funded our beautiful hospital, make sure this was possible for us. But I think it's more of that concern of financially, what's the landscape of Nantucket going to look like ongoing? This isn't going to be a quick fix for every single business owner and every single small not-for-profit. So I don't know if I exactly answered your question, but I think there's anxiety across the board. And if we can calm ourselves down and say these are situations that we're all in it together, they are coming from similar communities, and we can only be accountable for our own decisions. We can step 6 feet away. We can wear our masks. We can wash our hands as much as possible.
That's right. And you did. You actually, that was helpful. And it was exactly what I was going for in terms of really highlighting that we are in this together, that people who are coming to the island are not enemies. They are community members. They are humans. They have the same concerns that we do. They're coming here because they love it here. They're coming here to maybe escape the craziness of wherever they live at the other time of the year. And so I'm glad that you have that thought process, and I'm glad that you're not hearing a lot of anxiety from people with that. I know it's out there, but I much rather focus on what can we do together to keep safe, and not use this as a reason to separate us in any way. It's not us against them, as you said. We're all, whether we live here 12 months out of the year or 9 months out of the year or 3 months, we're all in this community, and we all love it.
Yeah. And I think it's a funny thing, again, about shaping narrative. It's a clinical tool that we talk about is, who are you in the story? It's sometimes the small minority that ends up catching the storyline, where a few people are very angry, anxious, upset, etc. I'll find that most people we come in contact with in this last fiscal year, we served just over 1,000 people. That's not what we're hearing. We're hearing, welcome back. We can't wait. Thank you for employing us, coming to our businesses. Thank you for investing in this community and making it as beautiful. We have land conservation because of great philanthropic support. So I think that we need to remember that we've always had a transient community from our whaler days, and we have been tough and hardy through the winter and open-armed in the summer and the nice weather.
Wonderfully said. Thank you for that, for saying that, for reminding people who may be watching that we are a small community, and every member of our community is an important part.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we addressed that. I'm wondering, I was going to ask you how you would say the pandemic and the changing times has affected how you operated, but I think you did. I think we've kind of seen how you've operated in using technology. I'm wondering if you have any advice for us about how we can help ourselves right now and one another.
Yeah.
It's a little general,
So
but
we started, you and I, Natalie, talking about our perspective and what we want to see and what we hope to get out of this entire time with COVID. But I'll also touch just briefly on the reality that for many people that's hard to grasp, that it has been a time of crisis in the behavioral health community. It has been extremely challenging. We've been worried about people related to self-harm and overdose and domestic violence and abuse. It happens in every single community. Nantucket is not untouched by the humanities of life. And we have noticed an uptick of tragedies. So what I could say is that if we normalize mental health, if we talk about how we all have it, that it's the best thing we can do for ourselves is reaching out and asking for help. I would highlight that we've been, with your great support at Channel 18, doing some filmed, YouTube posted QPR, which is Suicide Persuade, Refer, suicide prevention, as well as Narcan, which is the naloxone, the overdose response medication. So I think one of the advices we could say about how we could help one another is getting information out that is accessible and easy about how to keep our neighbors and our loved ones safe. My dog wants to say hi. Sorry.
That's life, right?
It's just recognizing that it's okay to not be okay. It is not okay to not ask for help. So we did pivot and move our virtual practice for all of our services, no wait lists, same day appointments. And for the last 2 months, we did virtual groups, drop-in groups Monday through Friday at 5. We recognized that people would better, they enjoyed the one-on-one connection, not the group format. So we pivoted this week to same day appointments, seeing a master's level clinician, no appointment necessary. So the advice for how we can help one another is admit when it's hard, ask for help sooner than later. And if you see something, say something. If you notice someone is depressed, despondent, isolating, or over drinking, dealing with anxiety and the financial stressors they're feeling, call Fairwinds. We are always here. We are open. We slide down to 0. We want to help you make some changes in your life.
Wonderful. It's really, again, I mean, such a great resource. And I think you touched on something important too, that, we have a responsibility, or at least I feel, I won't talk about, for everyone, but I feel that we do have a responsibility, and especially because we live in a small community, to keep an eye out for each other. And so if we notice that there's someone in need, I mean, it could be as simple as picking up the phone or texting them, or, it could be a little thing like that, but it's certainly good to know, too, if you're someone who is just feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling afraid, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling any number of the multitude of emotions and feelings that on any given normal day we can have, that it is okay, and that chances are when you're out and about and you see someone, from a safe 6 feet apart, you're not the only one feeling that way.
Yeah.
And part of what can be comforting is to know that you're not the only one feeling that way, and that there's nothing wrong with you because you're feeling that way.
Yeah.
And so, and to be careful, not to compare, like, well, oh, this person's going through, there's such a much harder time, I shouldn't complain. I mean, if you're upset and you're anxious and you're uncertain, then that's what you feel. That's who you are. You're a human being. Everyone is important, is what I'm hearing from you, that no matter how large or how seemingly small an issue is, it's still something important, and we can find help.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's the beauty of psychology and art. It's a science. So how people deliver psychopathy is a personal clinical approach and different techniques. But the science of, we know that we can change the way people think and respond to situations through neuroplasticity and rewiring the brain through talking to someone who is completely unbiased. If that's the way that it works for you, we are here to help you. We're also a big proponent of you find what works for you. If it's exercise, if it's your 12-step community, if it's calling your family regularly, it's just doing more of what makes you feel healthy and good. And yeah, I do agree. We're a small community where we have accountability to investing into turning this community into what we want it to be.
Yeah, that's why we live here.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I'm wondering if, I mean, we've covered a lot, and we've talked about some really important points. I'm wondering if on a personal level, or professionally and personally, if you can share with all of us some helpful advice on some things that we can be doing maybe with our uncertainty and the anxiety about the future. So keeping in mind that we have uncertainty, we have anxiety about the future. Are there some things or some advice, as I said, that what we might be able to do to kind of try to keep that in check or to assist ourselves?
Yeah, it's going to sound hokey. I'll go there. Practicing gratitude for the little things and giving ourselves a pat on the back that we're doing the best we can, and letting go of the should. The word should. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. It's little things like that that end up creating a huge wave of change. Is that I think that many people right now with anxiety are dealing with a ton of unknowns, and I cannot tell you the number of parents that are trying to juggle their Zoom meetings and a young child at home and the financial kind of, how am I going to pay my mortgage, and to remind themselves they're superheroes. They're getting through this one day at a time. Everybody's healthy, with great supports from the community. Bills are getting supported or paid, or rent waived for a month. You're doing the best you can. Practicing gratitude for the little things that happen like that to big things go a long way. And then reaching out for help. We are going to say that Fairwinds will make a difference, we believe, in people making change in their life. And it can be short-term treatment, and you can get what you want to out of it. If therapy's not for you, ask somebody else for help. And then we can work through whatever the challenges are to make life seem more manageable.
And I imagine it's, it's a come and go. I mean, if someone isn't sure if therapy is right for them, they can try it. If it doesn't feel right now, you're not going anywhere. They can come back.
Yeah. And that does happen. We love it when clients say, you know what, I'm really struggling with my negative self-talk. My self-esteem's just been crumbling. I just berate myself all the time. They come in for treatment. They're with therapists for 6 months. And by the end of it, they are so proud by who they've become, their next best version of themselves. And then 3 years later, maybe they're dealing with postpartum depression and just had their first child. And they had that connection with a therapist. They knew it was a safe place. They went back to a way to help themselves, a different tool out of their toolbox. So we are a big proponent of advocating for improving yourself. And there's no harm in trying out therapy and saying, you know what, I think I'd like a different therapist, or I think I'd like a different approach. It's collaborative. It should be what clients drive for the care. So we really model that at Fairwinds. If your case is assigned to a clinician and you're like, I'm looking for something a little different, tell us. Well, we're lucky to have great providers where we can switch you to someone else.
And there's no judgment. I mean, that's what part of this is there's no judgment. And, you're aimed at helping the person. So what I'm hearing from you is that in whatever way you can help, you guys are offering to help. If it doesn't work one way, you can adjust and sort of modulate and figure out another way that will help. If someone tries working with you and it doesn't work for them and they go to someone else, there's no judgment. It's, we're all doing the best that we can do. And really, I mean, people say it all the time, you just, put your best foot forward, but really that is the best you can do. And it changes daily. And because it changes daily.
Absolutely. And what we often find is that someone And then after a couple of sessions, it turns into like BCD. There are other, you're peeling an onion, there's different things. But that's the wonderful thing about being a small community, is that we partner really closely with our other not-for-profits. So somebody might come in requesting medication for their child, and then we recognize they'd really benefit from a therapeutic mentor. And then we realize they could benefit from some couples counseling. And then we're going to use our community support provider and say, hey, let us help you with the food, fuel, and rental assistance. Let's get you there. Let's make sure everything else is whole. It's those Maslow hierarchy of needs. Let's start to chip away at all these things that have caused an unstable foundation and work on them together collaboratively any way we can. We're proud. We work really closely with Addiction Solutions for clinical treatment with their Suboxone program. We work really closely with the Nantucket Cottage Hospital for referrals in and out of higher level of care, and sometimes the hospital. That we recognize that this is a community where we're all in this together.
Well, I feel, I mean, I can just feel talking to you and talking with you, quote unquote, live here, right? You can feel it. And I mean, we've been so lucky throughout this series to really be able to highlight that there's just such a varied amount and different kinds of help available here on the island. So I'm just very, very grateful. So talking about practicing gratitude, I am very grateful that you made the time for us, that you guys are there, that you've made it clear that you are happy and willing to work with people in whatever way works for them. That means a huge difference. And sometimes just knowing that someone is there for you makes all the difference in the world. So I really am so grateful. Thank you, Tess.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you to your staff. Thank you for all of you for taking the time to find creative ways to stay connected, to offer help. You know, our community is very lucky to have you and your staff as an available resource and safe place to find help. So it's
thank you. We appreciate it. We could not do what we do and keep our doors open without the very generous support of our donors, so we can slide down to zero. We couldn't do it without a virtual fundraiser that's going to be pushed right now electronically, helping us keep the doors open and sliding down to zero. And while our second shop just moved to curbside, we couldn't do it without people saying, I want to donate generously to the second shop, or I want to go shop, because all of those things add up. That's how people support Fairwinds, and then we're able to support the community. So it's a partnership. It's two hands, and we're very grateful. Thank you for all you said, Natalie, the team. I know they feel it. We've been doing the gratitude project online. I don't know if you've seen it on Instagram or Facebook, where we're going and snapping the first responders that are continuously working through this COVID. So Bartlett Farm and Stop and Shop and Highline, and just saying we are so appreciative for everybody in the community that keeps us whole. It's not just behavioral health providers, it's Channel 18 getting the information out and making these resources available. It's all of us. It's, as you said, it's why we live here.
That's why we live here. Well, it's real. Thank you, Tess. It's been an absolute pleasure talking.
Thank you.
I'm always hopeful that guidance and words of wisdom can help even just one person, if not more. And I feel that the conversation we had today, there was so much in there that that could be helpful to someone and could be useful to someone. And so I can't thank you enough. It's been a pleasure. You know, I hope I get to see you sometime soon in person.
Yes.
And you know, but this is a good way. And you know, and even someone watching this, let's say maybe they haven't had a virtual appointment with anyone yet, and they can see that, you know, us just having this discussion can be just as personable than sitting across the table from someone, you know, sitting in a chair with someone. This, you know, we all have to find ways to connect, and this works. I mean, this works, and I hope that people can also see that we can share and connect and have a discussion, right, just like this. And so that is it's a very safe way that people can look to you for help.
Yeah, thank you. I felt it too.
Well, and I mean, you know, that your dog came. I'm surrounded by my animals, although they're off screen right now. I have 4 of them, so it's life.
I thought you were going to see like a nose come up on the edge of the screen, but
Well, I'll tell you, a couple episodes ago when I was recording, it wasn't a live interview, my cat sort of walked up and across the dining room table in front of the computer. So now I put the computer up on a file box so that if she walks by, she's underneath the camera. So I'll just say that that little hint may or may not have happened just now. And so there's...
That's funny. Yep, as you said, this is practicing humility all the time. We're just human.
That's right. Well, thank you so much, Tess. I really appreciate it. You have a wonderful, wonderful day. And thank you again for today.
You too. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much, Tess. To you, to your staff, for taking the time to find creative ways to stay connected and offer your help. Our community is lucky to have you. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and I hope that your guidance and your words of wisdom will help even just one person, and I imagine much more. So thank you. And Nantucket, if you'd like to watch this episode anytime, please do look for it in Nantucket Pulse Wellness Series playlist on nctv18.org. You're going to notice, as in weeks past, at the end of this episode, local island groups giving rounds of applause to healthcare workers here on Nantucket and around the world. So if your team is meeting on Zoom or Google Hangouts, please do record yourselves saying who you are and give a shout out and a round of applause to our frontline heroes, and then send them to us here at info@nctv18.org. So that's all for now, Nantucket. I'm Natalie Ciminero. I'm your host of the wellness portion of Nantucket Pulse. It's been a continued wonderful journey serving you. And today I'd like to give a shout out to all of our postal workers and delivery drivers, everyone getting us our mail here on time, our orders here on time, safely, and so often with a smile. It really makes a huge difference. So thank you. In closing this week, I'd just like to acknowledge that we are all experiencing this thing called life together and all of its ebbs and flows. So if you can, try to remember a time that you may have had someone help you in some way when you needed it and how it felt, and keep that feeling in your hearts and in your minds. So when the opportunity arises for you to help someone else, as it surely will, that even the smallest act on your part can be a ripple that will have a positive effect. Until next time, please do take good care of yourselves and each other.
We want to thank all the essential workers and medical professionals
and first responders and town employees and Stop and Shop workers and
the teachers who are working remotely. People who are all doing what they can to save us while we do what we can by staying inside.
We are so very appreciative, and we'd like to clap for you. Thank you for everything you're doing for us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.